Scrambler motorcycles are one of the favorite genres of motorcycles these days. Many people are fans of the retro off-road that these types of motorcycles focus on. The original motorcycles, of course, were not off-road machines, but small street bikes reduced to the bare essentials to save weight and altered for better off-road performance. But you may ask, what exactly is a Scrambler motorcycles? They are lightweight motorcycles equipped with rugged tires and suspension, an off-road motorcycle designed for riding cross-country or over unpaved ground. It is increasingly difficult to establish a segmentation in the motorcycle market, but even more so when the brands themselves attack a certain type of motorcycle from different prisms. Precisely this is what happens with the name Scrambler. First Scrambler motorcycles. The first Scramblers were first seen in the 50s in the United States. It is assumed that adapting classic road bikes to use on broken terrain. And, as they began to succeed, and in Europe, they began using motorbikes to roll on land, the British motorcycle company Triumph decided to manufacture what would be its first Scrambler model, the TR6 of 1956. That was the first motorcycle of that modality in charge of a great company, and that was already sold of origin prepared to race in desert and cross-country races. It was an off-road with a twin-cylinder engine in parallel, more effective than single-cylinder, so the Triumph Scrambler bikes stood out in races held by the pilot Bud Ekins. Back in the 70s, the Italian brand Ducati had a factory in Barcelona. Indeed, the Motortrans company popularized National 4T models of 125, 175, 250 and 350, and then of greater displacement, such as the cranky Ducati 500 twin-cylinder in parallel, a technical failure. From the 250 and 350 road versions Scrambler was made. They were small single-cylinder, but four-stroke, so that they adapted better to mixed use, also for the road and the attempts of the Spanish two-stroke brands such as Boltaco, Ossa or Mornasar, to new market trends. From there, the Scrambler passed to the first trails, single-cylinder 4T Air, such as the Yamaha XT500, and then, Dakar through, in a history already known, the best tourism motorcycles of the 21st century became two-cylinder motorcycles and up to 4 cylinders, but with high handlebars, large tanks, and long suspensions. The current Maxi-Trail. And, suddenly, as with all fashions, the Scramblers returned. Indeed, in 2006, Triumph recovered the trade name Scrambler and resumed the commercialization of new mixed models oriented almost 100% to the asphalt but with off-road details. If we take Scrambler motorbikes as models of wide handlebars, derived from more or fewer road motorcycles as they emerged in the 50s to 60s and with certain off-road skills, we find many proposals that match this definition. As different as unique, this 2020 comes a new batch of Scrambler bikes to join those already know, so let's take a look. What exactly is a Scramble motorcycle? If you are a fan of the Scramble motorcycles, you surely know it. Scramblers are motorcycles designed to get you off the asphalt road and have a good adventure on some dirt road. With a classic off-road design, originating from the old off-road races carried out in England in the 1920s. With the aim of being the first from one point to another, climbing hills and crossing muddy terrain. To define it and say you have won, your motorcycle will have to have spoke wheels, lug tires, reduced fuel tank, padded seat, number holders, and above all a high and side exhaust system. Suspensions with slight changes and trimmed by the typical classic bellows, a more upright riding position, flat saddles, wheels with a certain off-road vocation, high exhausts. A Scramble motorbike is in essence that one with an appearance that mixes the off-road and the on-road appeal. Scrambler bikes are an ideal choice for lovers of classic bikes with that something you fall in love with. Scrambler features. Aside from discussions, Scramble bikes respond to all those road bikes adapted for off-road use. Therefore, among its basic features are the lightness, robustness, and reliability stand out, but, in addition, they have a series of peculiarities that make them very different from the rest. Sturdy tires. High exhaust pipe. Shorter, padded seat. Visual simplicity, it carries what is strictly necessary. Lightness, components that reduce weight. gas tank smaller than normal. The important thing is not precisely the beauty but the robustness of these motorcycles that make them irresistible to any trail in any conditions. That is why scramblers are so interesting, a motorcycle that mixes simplicity with power, something that is really beautiful for the rider. 1. Ducati Scrambler. Ducati Scrambler. Without major changes, the Ducati Scrambler motorcycle range.